Hello, hello, hello. What's up? My last two trips that we had planned for going to the casinos were both canceled on us. So finally we got to go to Caesars Casino on Sunday to try out my bigger betting system. That and some updates coming up right after this. Welcome back, guys. I have a couple comments to bring us up to date here of what's going on before we get into our casino review. First, remember Debbie? We met her at Del Lago Casino in Waterloo, New York. She was playing a system of Baccarat where she's using the bead road, where there are rows of 6 in a column. When one row was done, she would bet that the casino can't do exactly the same in the next 6. It was giving her at least a 90% win rate. While I was there, we got to talking, and I happened to mention that I was doing banker player. A couple of weeks later, she wrote and told me that when she had a row with a couple ties in it, that she would just change the last row to player player banker, and she would bet banker player, banker player, and that it was doing very well for her. And she was practicing that on the simulator, and every once in a while she would notice that it would hit her 6 martingales and lose her bankroll. Good thing that was just in practice. So here's what she wrote and told me that she's doing now. She sits and watches and waits till she sees that she would have lost 4 hands in a row. That would be player banker player. And then she starts in with her 6 martingales, betting banker player. And she hops in then and plays for winning 3 coins. Then stops and waits for another setup of player banker player. Her goal is 5 coins for the day. So the second time when she's playing, she wins the first 2 coins and then stops. So she's got her 5 coins, and that's it for her for the day. I have not played with this, but I thought I would pass it along. She seems to be pretty happy with it. And hey, at least she's reading the scoreboard of what the shoe is actually doing. My other talk I had over the weekend was with Vic. I call him a professional gambler, and he doesn't like that term, but that's what he does. Vic is the friend that I got banker player from quite a while back. Other than just chit-chat, I've been wanting to ask Vic these questions because I know he does this day in and day out. Why is it that he can take a pattern that wins 90% of the time and win consistently at it, and others playing the same pattern lose their bankroll? He said offhand he can think of a couple reasons why it might be happening. First, let's pick a pattern that wins 90% of the time, like just betting on banker only. With 6 or maybe 8 martingales, it would win 98% of the time. Then he says, what more do you want? The problem being is not knowing when to stop betting or when to change your betting or when to leave. And most newbies are not watching the scoreboard to see what this shoe is doing here and now. I asked him, how do you get to know what the shoe is doing? How to read that board for what's going on now? And his answer was, after you've been doing this for 3 or 4 years like I have, it's becomes almost a 6th sense. And also, are you betting big enough so that you don't have to be there hour after hour? Baccarat is a boring game when you figure it's either this or that. Surely you have better fun things to do. Just treat the game as your private bank machine, and you're just there to make a withdrawal. The other thing is greed. I never really got into that much with him, but we all know that greed is the killer. So question number 2, what do I say to people that are really against martingale? Some are really great mathematicians with all the answers of why it won't work. Others are just plain nasty, calling us stupid, jerks, liars, whatever. He had the shortest answer for this. He put up his hand and said, pick a finger. I think I'll just leave that one there. I do have something to add to the martingale haters. Jason has a YouTube channel here called Built by Baccarat. He does flat betting, and he's very good at it. He will show you anything. He will answer any questions. I think he's also a very good example of practice, practice, practice. He told us on one of his videos that in his younger years he was sent to jail for 2 years, and while he was there, where he paid another inmate there to deal cards to him, and they played Baccarat for about 6 hours almost every day for the 2 years. Now that's practice. He also writes everything down and studies the patterns. By that I'd say that's no wonder that he's good at it. When he started playing for real, he was winning too much. His only hometown casino asked him not to come back, so he moved to Vegas. This is just stuff that he's told us on his YouTube channel. I hope I've got it right. Anyway, if you're just interested in flat betting, check out Jason at Built by Baccarat. Oh, hey, before you go, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button here on this channel. I do appreciate it, and thank you. First off, studying and cramming for 4 or 5 hours, you might as well just go to bed. Now practice for 10 or 15 minutes, day after day after day. You will be amazed at how it starts to come to you. You could just practice playing game after game on the Wizard of Oz. But what are you looking for? What to bet and why to bet? Should I just pick a pattern and follow it blindly? I think that could be quite dangerous. I can only tell you what I have been told to do. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, so I listen to other people. Watch the scoreboard. What's the shoe doing now? What has it been doing up until now? Example of what I mean. If it's a choppy shoe, bet accordingly. If it's running in streaks, maybe you should be trying to ride the wave. And some shoes are just a mess. Some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that. Pick your favorite. I like choppy, choppy, choppy shoes. I have a friend that just tries to ride the waves. Pick your favorite and stick with it. They say that Baccarat is a 50-50 game. It might be in a long run. But we're looking at a spot in the shoe right here, right now. It's not 50-50. It's doing this or it's doing that. Bet accordingly. When I can't figure out what a shoe is doing, I don't bet. I move on. This is not my advice. I'm not that smart. Or even close. I have been lucky enough to meet up with a couple professional Baccarat players and have asked the right questions. I think it's time I get off the soapbox here and let's go to the casino. After 2 trips that got canceled, we finally got to go to the casino again. We ended up at Caesars again. We went by bus and I slept most of the way there. 2.5 hours seemed like about 10 minutes that way. That's something that happens a lot when you get to my age. When we got there, I gave my friend $20 in free slot play. He headed for the slots and I headed for the high limit rooms. Only one table going with 3 players there and the minimum was $50. I looked at the scoreboard and it looked choppy, 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 so I liked that, sat down and bought in for $2,000. I bet on banker and won. Normally with my hit and run I would be getting up and leaving the table. But I just sat there and watched for a couple hands and thinking it's still choppy choppy. So I put my bet back out on banker again and it won again. I bet banker right away again for one more try and it won also. And I figured, well, I'm going to try for a run here, and I bet banker again, but it lost this time. I sat and watched the next hand while I was staring at the board trying to decide what to do here. And anyways, I just doubled up on the next one and banker won again. I figured this time I'm walking. Actually, this time I said a little yahoo, colored up and headed out for a coffee. I met my friend there and he told me he had only used $10 of their $40 in free comp play and he had won $64.26. and that put us back over the $2,000 mark in our bus fund. He had a smile on him from ear to ear. He gave me the remaining $30 in coupons and said, go and try and beat that. So after coffee, I headed to one of my favorite slot machines and put in first $10 coupon and won $2.60. Big deal there. My next machine did a little better. I got $6.12. Thinking I need to do a lot better than this if I'm going to beat him. $10 in the last slot and I won $38 for my grand total of $40.72. I did not catch up with him, but our totals together was $104.98. I put $105 back in our bus fund. Okay, new subject. This is the fun part of going with a friend to the casino. He wants to try and get better comps. So his plan is at the craps table, which he knows a lot about and I know almost nothing. They have 4 crap tables going there, so there was no problem getting a place. He was at one end and I was at the other. He did a buy-in for $1,300. I just did a buy-in for $200. I would suggest keep a bet on the don't pass line. That's just covering his bet on the pass line. What other betting he did at the other end was up to him. I was just covering his pass line. We played quite conservatively for 1 hour and 10 minutes. When we stopped, I was up $40 and he was down $10. I gave him the $40 that I was up. Craps is a lot more fun than playing Baccarat, but I'll put my money on Baccarat. I said goodbye and headed back to the high limits room. Only the one table was going and it was on hand 64. So I decided to wait and come back later. I headed over to Johnny Rocket and got some fries and a drink. Later when I come back to the high limits room, they were on a new shoe, but only about 10 hands had been played. The scoreboard of what there was there was very choppy, so I decided to go ahead and bet banker. I did another buy-in for $1,000. I still had the other chips in my pocket, but we're after points, so another buy-in. Anyway, the banker won first crack. I just turned right around and bet it again, and it won twice. So I figured, what the heck now, it's casino money. I bet again, banker, and it won a third time. So I'm sitting there thinking now, could it possibly do it again? If I was to hit it again, I'd be done for the day. And if I lose, I'd still be up 2 coins. Not a bad spot to be. So you guess it, banker again, and it won again. There you go, I'm done. Sorry, not much of a story here, but quick in, quick out. What could be better than that? I sat there at the table for another 10 or 15 minutes, watching the board. I know what I had just done was just S-pot lucky. But there you go. That's my first day in the high limits room. I know that most casinos' high limits rooms start at $100 and go up from there. So it got me thinking, now if I had been betting $100 instead of the $50, I would be up $720 right now. But I'm pretty happy starting here. To end this, let me say, gaining a skill takes practice, time, and effort. And most things are not fun until you get good at it. Talk to you next time.